are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to another Parallel Edge discussion on security practices that should be put in place. We're talking about some Cryptolocker and all of its ugly cousins. We're missing Sandra right now. She just lost her internet, so you guys know how that happens. Just at the blink of an eye, she just dropped off right at 11:59. We lost her, and she's hopefully we'll get her back somehow. So we'll see what happens there. But just jumping in, when I first put this presentation together, we started about just talking about some of the scary things that are out there. And of course, being that it's the end of October, everybody's getting ready for Halloween. We wanted to talk about somewhat of a scary subject. So this is really in there, but it kind of, that scope creep came in. And, not just talking about Cryptolocker and all of its ugly cousins, but really 7 critical things that I think every business should have in place right now. It's stuff that's really, really critical. So we'll go over that. We'll go over Cryptolocker. We'll even do some surprising things and talk about that as well. But today, we're basically going to cover the #1 security threat to your business that antivirus, firewalls, and other security protocols can't protect against. It's amazing that there's one thing that no matter what we do, there's one thing that we cannot protect against this. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. The shocking truth about bank fraud that most businesses don't know, and it could literally wipe out your bank account. Why firewalls and antivirus software, they may not cut it anymore, depending on what's out there. And lastly, the thing that's really becoming more and more prevalent, especially over the last couple of years, is how mobile phones and cloud applications, they're really jeopardizing your organization's security and data protection and what you could be doing to protect yourself. But basically what we're going to cover is how to avoid being a sitting duck. Criminals are out there, they're working so hard to get what you have and to get that data, and that's one thing that we're trying to get out of there. Looks like I got a little blip on the screen there. Who is Kevin Cerula? Just go over a little bit about myself. I'm a senior associate at Parallel Edge who specializes in designing IT solutions for companies so they may continue to be highly productive and educated with many different forms of technology. I've been at Parallel Edge 5 years last April. It'll be 6 years this coming April. Before that, I was 10 years as a teacher at a special needs school, helping children learn how to use technology effectively in the classroom so that they could be more productive. And then prior to that, I learned how to design and educate teachers designing turnkey music learning systems for the educational division of Cork. So I've been teaching for just about 15 years prior to working at Parallel Edge. We're going to start off with a poll. Do you know anyone at all that has been the victim of ransomware? Now, ransomware is a pretty broad subject, but how many of you either you've been the victim, or that somebody that's been the victim? Maybe yourself, maybe at home, maybe at your place of business. How many of you have been the victim of ransomware? Let's see, just about all the polls are in, which was a timely subject for this year. Sandra, are you back on with us?
I am. I'm here.
Fantastic. Your internet's back up. Dropped out at the last second there. We got 89% of the polls in. So it looks like the majority of you have been the victim, or at least know somebody that's been the victim. Can you post that up there, Sandra, so that everybody sees? Let's see, is that manage? There we go. All right, so 63% of you said yes, 38% no. At least everybody knows what ransomware is. But for the most part, you know what ransomware is, and you at least have seen it. So that's a scary thing, just in the amount of people that have been here. So moving on here, let's see. So I'm going to start off with a quote here. This is the Andrew Grove, former CEO of Intel, and I found this quote to be really pertinent to the subject at hand. Success breeds complacency. Complacency breeds failure. And only the paranoid survive. Let's think about that in terms of cybercrime and ransomware and all of those other scary things that are out there. Complacency breeds failure. Only the paranoid survive. So if you think about that, you know, if you think, oh, there's no way I'm going to be a victim of this because I haven't been hacked yet, well, that complacency is going to breed failure because there's a really good possibility that it hasn't happened yet, but it could. So if you're more and more paranoid when it comes to that, and not using paranoid as a bad term, as like, you know, who's out there to get me, but really being paranoid about your cybersecurity so that you'll be better than the next company. Because cybercrime, it's a business. It's a business. People come into a place of business, whether it's an internet cafe in Russia or, you know, a place that's where people just come together and they talk about their day and they come in at 8 a.m. and they talk about, you know, different things and how they can be better hackers, and they have hacker conventions, you know, and they're paid based on how well they do. This is a full-time business, and if you don't think it is, just go out on YouTube and Google some things, because it is a full-time business. And it's a scary thing. I mean, if you think about cybercrime, you know, or just crime in general in the old days, it was one-on-one. You know, somebody goes to rob a train, or you get held up in an alley, and it's one-on-one or one-on-two. You know, you have somebody with a gun, they're pointing it at you. Who's the victim of that crime? You. You know, you might lose your wallet, you might lose, you know, the keys to your car, you might lose, you know, some credit cards or whatnot, but basically it's a one-on-one thing. Now the person with the gun is attacking, I guess in eBay's point of view, 145 million accounts all at once. One person or one group of people can hack that many accounts all at one time. Think about Target. That was pretty recent. 70 million accounts hacked. So if you think about how long would that train be in the olden days, you know, 70 million people on one train, it would never happen. But if you think about crime as of today, that one person can hack that many accounts all at once and get your you know, all your information. And now it's not only hacking your account, but now you have to think about identity theft and credit card theft and all of those other things that are out there. It's becoming bigger and bigger. JP Morgan, 80 million households and 7 million small to medium-sized businesses hacked. This wasn't all that long ago. And you think about that black market that's out there for all of the stuff that they sell, it's huge. And what they're selling these things for on the black market, you know, that's a business in and of itself. So it's not only, you know, ransoming out the information that they have, but it's also reselling that information to a black market. And in fact, you know, on the digital underground black market, and believe it, there's a separate internet called, you know, that's on these dark internets that you and I just don't normally go on. And I'm telling you, don't look into the black hole that is the dark internet, because it looks back at you. And the more you look into it, the more it looks back at you. And you yourself could definitely be a target at that point. But, you know, just on that black market itself, credit card details, not the actual physical credit card, just the details of your credit card. For one person, $2 to $90 they sell that for on the black market. An iTunes account goes for $8. Physical credit cards, $190. Card cloners, you know, these are the things, and I want to say within the last 6 months, I know that there was some ATM machines they found in Philadelphia that had these card cloners on it. So it's an ATM, they put this little card cloner where you put your card in, and when you put your card in, not only does it go through, you know, the ATM machine, it goes through the cloner, and they grab your information off the card. 200 to $300. Fake ATM machines, they will set up whole fake ATM machines. They look legit. They'll put it on a corner. People will walk up to it. They'll put in their information. They'll put in their security numbers, and guess what? You're not getting any money out of that ATM. It says out of order. Well, guess what? You just gave up your information to that fake ATM. And the scary part about this is anyone can easily buy the training, the tools and the services to commit these frauds. 16-year-olds, and just trying to, instead of playing a video game, they'll go out and get this type of information and be able to do any of this type of stuff. It is really, really scary stuff that's out there. But we're small. Nobody would bother to hack us, right? Absolutely wrong. And in fact, some of the statistics that I'm going to put up here, I knew about some of this stuff, and it's funny, as I went to research this subject, I've dealt with viruses since forever. I mean, gosh, who hasn't had a virus, and going out there and taking viruses off machines, and and trying to help people, and getting scared from Cryptolocker and all this. You kind of get a picture of the black hole that is Virusville. But when you start researching these things and you start looking at some of the statistics that are out there, it scares me. Just the first one right there, 60% of all targeted attacks struck small and medium-sized organizations in 2015. 60%! That's a huge number. And Parallel Edge mostly deals with small and medium-sized organizations. So I know everybody that's on this webinar right now, that's you, 60%. They're targeting you right then and there. And why? Because small businesses are low-hanging fruit. They don't believe that they're going to be a target. And therefore, they have very loose or sometimes no security systems and protocols in place. So you might have, Trend, let's say, and say, that's fine, we're good. That's fine for us. We can back away from the table. We're fine. Well, go back to that quote that we said a little earlier. Complacency breeds failure. And if you think you're fine with what you have right now, you may not be. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But just putting this number out there, $201. What does that represent? That's the money that's associated, the estimated costs associated with a stolen record. So that's one stolen record. That doesn't take into account your reputational damage. If it's known that you've been hacked, loss of clients because, if you're an accounting firm and your server's been hacked, do you want to do business with that client, with that vendor anymore, with that person, with that, that organization? They've just been hacked. Who knows how much information's been taken? Class action lawsuits. If my stuff is taken and my stuff is on that server, there's definitely going to be lawsuits, legal fees defending against that stuff, compliance lawsuits, replacement of that data, downtime and loss of productivity. So if all that stuff is taken, how long does it take you to get back up on top of all of that? And just because you're a small business doesn't mean your customers' information is any less valuable. So what are you doing to protect all of that? So that brings us to our next poll. On average, how many malware threats are released on average every day? So let's see what we can do for that one. So let's put out that poll and go ahead and answer that while I take a sip here. So every day, and they just came out with this report. It's 2016 report from Symantec, and they put out this information, and it was a pretty scary thing. So let's see how many people are. Of course, a lot of people might just go over it and just say, oh, it's the biggest number, but really, it's even if you see this number, you're like, wow. So it could be, it could be tiny. It could be, just under 250,000. We got 90% of you voted in. Let's see, let's give it 1, 2, 3 more seconds. All right, let's call it there. Looks like most of you are on the paranoid path, which is great because that's where we want to be. 56% said over 750,000, 22% 50 to 750, and 22% 250 to 500. So it's definitely gonna, one of those things that you put out there and you're like, wow, it's crazy. So let's go back to the presentation there, and we have the answer here is nearly 1 million. I know I sound like that guy from from Austin Powers, $1 million. But new malware threats being released every day. 2016 report, so in 2015, Symantec released a report, over 314 million new malware threats, and that's all encompassing, that they know. So this is Symantec, that they know of. 314 million threats being released the entire year. So that's just under 1 million new threats being released every day. That's scary, and they're expecting that number to only continue to grow. It's a really scary thing that's out there. And this brings me to my next quote. This is Robert Mueller, former director of the FBI in 2012. 2012, that's 4 years ago. There's only two types of companies out there: those who have been hacked and those that will be. Let me say that again. There's two types of companies: those who have been hacked and those that will be. So he's not pulling any punches there. It's definitely, a scary thing. And again, I know I joked about it being around Halloween, but you think about this. If you haven't been hacked yet, he's saying that you're definitely a target in the future. Which brings us to our next poll. I love these polls because it really takes the temperature of things that are out there. But according to Security Weekly, how much ransomware has been paid since 2014? This is surprising too. I mean, you think about, you get infected, and you want to make sure that infection goes away. And most people, when they're infected, and this is a scary thing too, most people when they're infected, they are embarrassed. That's usually the first thing, like, oh my gosh, they're going to find out that I was on Facebook, or that I was on, this webpage or that webpage. The first thing is embarrassment. So mostly they want to cover it up. Secondly, it's panic. Like, how bad is this? And then third, they just want to make it go away. So, there's different ones out there that, where they, and this is more of a home one I found out about, that, they turn your webcam on, they record you for so many hours, and then they show that recording back to you by going on specific websites. I'm not going to get into which websites, but while you're on this website, they record while you're on this website your webcam, and the light doesn't go on, and you don't know they're recording this, and then all of a sudden you get an email, and it says, if you don't pay X amount of dollars within the first week, we're going to release this webcam footage to everybody in your address book. Now again, I'm not going to talk about what website you were on at the time, but if they're releasing that footage to your friends, are you going to pay that money? And most people do. And there's other ones that are out there that are even worse. So let's see what the poll says here. We got, let's see, is anybody chiming in on that one? Let's see. It looks like it's already closed.
Yeah, that poll wasn't working, Kevin.
Okay. Well, we'll just skip it. So what the answer is more than $18 million has been paid since 2014. More than $18 million. Sorry about that poll there. So we'll just keep going here. Little technical difficulties. So as I said before, we want to go over some of the malware types. And this was my original thrust of this presentation, is to go over some of the malware types. Crypto variants. Cryptolocker is one of the biggest ones that have come up. Basically they've been out there, but they really didn't come in to the full money since 2013. This virus disguises itself as an email. It started out mostly with attachments to UPS or FedEx confirmations or receipts. So we would see an upswing in these infections around Christmas time, because everybody's buying stuff from Amazon and all these online places. And they would get all these UPS receipts. Oh, XYZ has been delivered, or hey, this has been delivered from FedEx. And it would be a confirmation or receipt, and you would go in there and open up the receipt. You would get infected. That's how they would. The biggest one, and this is one of the ones, this will pay for your time right now for this hour. If you're you're on this presentation, and I'm sure you might be losing some billable time. This is worth the price of admission right here. Get up after this presentation, go talk to your HR person. More and more recently, and I've seen an upswing within the last 6 months, they're targeting HR people with resumes, or not only resumes, but attachments to their portfolios on their own websites. And guess what? All viruses. I mean, you can say that, maybe, somewhere in the range of 60 to 80%. Sometimes when you're advertising on these websites, they'll go out there and physically say, all right, well, these people are looking for a job. We'll send them 8 resumes from this one place. They're all bogus. So definitely watch out for that. I mean, granted, you are going to get people, HR is going to get resumes from actual people, but I want to say maybe within the last 66 months, the one client that I go to, when they're advertising, I want to say at least 20% are bogus. That's a big number. So make sure before you're going on these websites, or maybe you even use a stopgap. So when you're looking at these HR resumes, use a laptop that's specifically geared for that. So get a cheap laptop or a laptop that you've identified as an old laptop. It's on its last legs. Only use it for that purpose. Give it to the HR person for them to use that. Only go to that website and lock it down. So in case it does get infected, you pull the plug and nobody's the wiser. So we come in, we clean that one laptop, reload it with Windows, and you go on with your happy day. It's got no mapped drives. It has no access to the servers whatsoever. So if you're looking at resumes, the best thing that you can do right now is get a cheap laptop for your HR person to go out there, look at those resumes, look at those portfolios, and shut the lid on that thing when it's finished. Cryptolocker first identified in 2013. The yellow portion of that graph right there is the more and more prevalence of viruses that are out there that are crypto-type viruses. Crypto, if you haven't heard of it, here's your answer. Sends a key, so it's like a lock and key, sends it back to its command and control place. That home base sends back a key, and it gives it the go-ahead. So it's saying, you know what? Go ahead and start encrypting whatever you need to. Encryption, it's something that we can't unencrypt. So once it becomes encrypted, we need the key that it sent off-site to unencrypt all of those files. Crypto 1, not so bad. It encrypted all the files on the local computer, and it said, all right, well, we encrypted all this stuff. We're also going to encrypt all those mapped drives. So if you open up my computer right now, how many mapped drives do you have to that server? And I'm talking about the drives that are on the server that are like your F drive, your E drive, your Z drive, anything that's not on your computer, but still a drive that's hooked up to the server. Crypto 2, all of a sudden they're not detected by antivirus or firewall. So they'll slip in and they slip right back out, and you don't even know you're infected until you get a splash screen that tells you you're infected. Crypto 3, now here's another scary part. They keep reinventing this thing and making it worse and worse. Privilege escalation and removing shadow copies. Privilege escalation. If you're an administrator and you have privilege access to certain places on the server, or you're an HR person or an administrator, even though that employee A doesn't have access to those things, it was still encrypted and remove the shadow copies, which is usually our first line of defense for getting your information back. Crypto 4 came out within the last year, I want to say. It re-encrypts all the file names. So not only do you know that do you not know what it's in that file, but also now the file is like xqzmpq.tfmpz. So you not only don't have that information, you don't know what the files are to get them back. Crypto 5, who knows what's going to happen? It's getting so far that you wonder if you're going to get infected with a virus and all of a sudden, it attacks the hardware and smoke starts pouring out of the server. I'm just green light thinking here. It's going to melt into the floor and you're going to call us up and say, I think we have a problem. So who knows what's going to happen. Zero-day vulnerabilities. These are becoming, huge. 2015, I'm going to skip to the second one there. 2015, Symantec said one was released each week. 52 new viruses. I think they came up with 57 new zero-day vulnerabilities. So that means Adobe Flash comes up with an update, or Java comes up with an update, and you install it on your computer. This virus targets those software, that software that's on your machine, because they don't have a chance to patch it yet. So they're automatically attacking new versions of Adobe or Java that's been on your machine because they haven't had a chance to fix the fix the holes that are in its security. So that's what zero-day vulnerabilities are. Botnets. Botnets are scary, and this is one of those things that that the hackers put in their back pocket. A botnet, it's a network of private computers infected with malicious software and controlled as a group without the owner's knowledge. Let me say that again. It's without the owner's knowledge. So remember when I said before you might go to a website, or you might get a pop-up, or you might open an attachment and you say, "Whew, boy, did I dodge a bullet there. Thankfully, I'm not infected because I didn't get any kind of splash screen that said, hey, you're infected." You might be the victim of a botnet. And what botnets are is that you basically zombify your computer. Again, Halloween. According to reports from a Russian-based Kaspersky is another antivirus provider that's out there, botnets, not spam, viruses, or worms, currently pose the biggest threat to the internet. The biggest threat to the internet. Here's an example of what happens. A hacker group known as Lizard Squad, this was last Christmas. They took down the online gaming functionality of Sony and Microsoft, 2 different days. So this is when kids at Christmas, oh, I got, this fantastic game, and they go out there and they want to play this game, and they go on to Sony and Microsoft, and they're really bummed out. And this happened. They're really bummed out because they can't play online. Well, what happened is this group called Lizard Squad turned all of their botnets on, and they turned them on Sony. And what they do is they take all the zombified computers that are out there. Let's say it's 75,000, 100,000, 200,000. Basically what they do is they take all those computers and they turn them on. And the only thing that you'll notice, wow, my computer's running a little slow today. It was fine yesterday. Well, maybe your computer is a botnet. And now all of a sudden, the hacker out there has turned your computer into a zombie and is using your processing power to do what it wants to do. And what is it doing? It is basically sending out message after message after message after message to Sony's online, Microsoft, the online portion of Sony and Microsoft. So think about Sony. All of a sudden, it's fine. Everybody's looking at their website. They're playing games and whatnot. And all of a sudden, within a second, millions and millions of requests are coming in every second to their online gaming functionality. It shut them down for at least 3 days for Sony and I want to say 4 days for Microsoft. They're huge. And this is Sony and Microsoft being taken down by a group known as Lizard Squad. And they came out and said that. And they wanted to teach them a lesson is what their thing was. So that's what a botnet is. Worms, Trojans, some of these you might have heard before. These are the old school ones. Worms, they're like the KISS viruses that used to be out there where you get infected and you get an email that comes in and all of a sudden your outbox just gets flooded with all these messages. Well, basically what it's taken is your outbox, it's replicated itself and is sending out message upon message upon message, and it's self-replicating. So it's sending itself to other people to infect their computers. Trojans, they look like one thing, but it's really a virus. And most times they're gateways for other things. So basically you've gone onto a website, it'll install, like, let's say, this program, you've been hacked, make sure to install this to get rid of it. You install it, it's a Trojan. It comes in as one thing, it looks like another thing. Good examples of this, this would be a good thing that we could look for, would be like the coupon things, or coupon printer. I can't tell me how many of those I've found. Coupon printers. They're not coupon printers. They're browser hijackers or Trojans. Another one is the conduit virus. So that'll go in there as a browser hijacker. Browser hijackers are really scary because you're going to a website and you think it's TD Bank's website, and what they have the ability to do is it's a browser hijacker. So you put in tdbank.com. You think you're going to TD Bank. Well, what they've done is copied TD Bank's website, and they put it on their own server. And when you go to put in tdbank.com, it says TD Bank in the website up top, but really it's a proxy server which is sending you to their TD Bank website. And what do you do on the TD Bank website? You log in. And what happens when you log in? They wipe you out. They're taking your money. They're taking your identity. Identity theft is becoming huge. It's been huge for a while now, and stealing your bank funds. So these are all different things you really need to protect yourself against, especially with stealing bank funds. And when it comes to businesses, the FDIC, and this is huge, I didn't even know this, the FDIC does not protect you from bank fraud. Now, individuals have more coverage than businesses do. But if you're going to lose, $250,000, $500,000 because somebody's hacked into your account and they've drained off that money, they're not going to protect you. Here's some tips for either yourself or for your business that you can protect yourself. Now, the first one I can't do because I only do debit cards, but they're the #1 way for people to get into your bank account and get stuff compromised. The other thing you might want to do is, instead of canceling your debit cards, if there's no way around it, change your debit card every 6 months to a year. Just go in, say, look, the thing is not checking properly once I swipe it through the thing. It happens to me a lot. Change it every 6 months. That way the number changes and you won't get, those numbers out there. Have a dedicated PC for online banking. If you go home and you're using the same computer that Jimmy or Johnny or your daughter, Alyssa or whoever's out there, if you're using that same account to go onto your TD Bank website, you're asking for trouble. So don't use that PC for anything else. Make it an adult PC and the kids' PC, or make it, you only do it from your iPad or something like that, that has access to nothing else except for going on to and doing your web banking. Signing up for email alerts when your bank there's a withdrawal for over $100. Now, this would be really great, if the hacker is going in there and they're removing more than $100 at a time. It would also help me to know when my wife is going shoe shopping. So if she's spending over $100, I'm going to get an email on my phone that says, hey, there's $100 that's been taken out. I know the conversation I need to have happen at night. So requiring your signature for any wire transfers or having money spread into multiple accounts, also a good thing. So have, just stuff for your bills in one account and have, your other stuff in maybe multiple accounts, so that can minimize the risk. All right, this poll is not going to be one that's our normal, ABC. I want you to chat in right now and tell me what you think is the #1 security threat to your business that antivirus, firewalls, and other security protocols can't protect against. So just go ahead and chat in. I'll go and kind of monitor. I want to find out, exactly what you think of. And while you're polling in, Sandra's written me a question here that I wasn't looking at. It's my fault. It looks like, how do you know that resumes are bogus, or that something is obvious? Sometimes it's their name. And I know that might sound, a little odd, but that was some of the things that clued us in, or websites that aren't normally there. But that's why I said sometimes you don't know if it's bogus. Sometimes you don't know if it's legit or not. So the best way to go against the different things that are out there, that's why I said use that stopgap computer. And this is from Joan Marchesani. So use something that's out there that's a stopgap, that's secure and away from other things, because you don't know if it's legit or bogus. So go in there, make sure that it's a stopgap from your regular computers, that it has no other access other than the internet, and then if something should be infected, unplug it, and it doesn't really matter to your organization at that point. All right, so we got a couple people chiming in here. And you're actually right. There's a lot of people that are right here. This is right on the money. So I'm glad. This is great. That means I'm doing my job, making everybody paranoid. Sandra, have there been any other questions while people are writing in that I've missed?
No, but I actually wanted to ask you, are these resumes that are being emailed in, are they being caught by spam filters?
No.
No.
Absolutely not, because sometimes they're links. Now, if you're on something like Proofpoint, those links will be vetted, but even those won't be flagged because it could be their own domain. So it's taking you to a legit place, it's taking you to a legit website, and if it's a newly created domain that something like Proofpoint hasn't vetted yet, like I said, the best way is just to get that stopgap computer. And I think that, it would be a really great thing for everybody. Everybody has that laptop that's just sitting around because, the last person that got it, was from 2011 and they can't wait to move up to their new machine. And you're like, wow, they ask you, what can I do with this computer? And I say, go out into the parking lot and see how far you can throw it because we can't do anything else with it. Wipe the computer, put Windows on there, have them only have access to the internet to only do that type of stuff. So back to the presentation here, going to the poll, many of you are absolutely right. It's employees. And how do you combat these types of things? So 63% of small businesses have no policies in place on social media within their workplace. So how many times have you gone around and somebody's checking Facebook or Twitter or all of those types of things? 77% of businesses don't even have an internet security policy. These are the types of things that you can come to us as Parallel Edge and help you write these things and have your employees sign them. Because if you're thinking about the loss of productivity, there's lots of things that can happen on Facebook and those other sites that could be bogus that's getting onto your computer. One of the other scary things that I did at a class before I came to Parallel Edge, and it was in my web security class. I didn't even know this was possible. They can take an image and they can insert a Word document into the image, and the only thing that you see is the JPEG or the TIFF or the PNG file, and it looks just like a larger GIF, larger JPEG file. You email it to somebody else, and they have something on the other end that takes that Word document out of there, and it was encrypted in there. You didn't even know it was there. And that happens a lot. They'll embed stuff in pictures and whatnot. You don't even know if you're infected or not. More than 75% of all legitimate websites have unpatched vulnerabilities. So, you might have a hosting server somewhere that your website is being hosted on, and then all of a sudden your website's hacked, or, they've taken a picture of your website and they're doing stuff with your website. It could be that your hosting company, something out of your control, you're paying them to house your website, and all of a sudden they're being hacked. That's something that you have no control over. They have unpatched vulnerabilities. 15% of legitimate websites have vulnerabilities deemed critical, which means it takes a trivial effort for cyber criminals to gain access and manipulate these websites for their own purposes. Moreover, when it comes to social media and your employees, number one threat, 600 Facebook accounts are hacked every single day. So your Facebook account is hacked, they're pushing stuff out to your friends and your people that are on the internet. Definitely a huge, huge warning sign. And who knows how that's getting into your organization. And moreover, when it comes to social media, they're doing more and more studies. You see the largest amount there, at least an hour a day of your employees' time, 39%. That's a pretty big number of a significant loss of Facebook, just on Facebook. And contributing to that is not only, Tumblr at 57%, Facebook 52%, Twitter, Instagram, and so on and so forth. And, it's not only, on their computers themselves, but also on their phones. So even if it's not, that their Facebook account is being hacked, you're losing productivity to these types of places, unless you're in marketing and that's your job to do that type of stuff. And plus, it's a bad PR thing. This came out a while ago about, somebody tweeting something about, hey, I'm standing in, salad, and all of a sudden, everybody on Facebook is seeing this Facebook worker or this worker, putting their feet in the lettuce. And of course, thankfully, that person was hunted down and fired. But, this type of stuff happens all the time. These ransomware dangers are on the rise. If you've seen this, if you see this this warning sign on your computer, you're already infected. Just go ahead and unplug right now. What types of writing pays the most? A writer once asked a literary agent, what kind of writing pays the most? And he said, simple, it's ransom notes. And in the cybercrime world, they're being paid by putting out these viruses. So they'll go out there and sometimes they'll rent, I said before about Lizard Squad. They'll go in the day and say, you know what, I'm going to put out this virus today. I purchased a Cryptolocker variant. I put my own, my own little panache on this virus, and now I'm going to go in and rent 75,000 botnets from this guy over here who owns these. Maybe he put out a virus a little while ago and owns these botnets, and they'll go out there and put out these things. And they're renting these things because they know the return on their investment is so much greater. So like I said before, it's a full-time business, and it's a scary thing. 7 million Dropbox passwords. Now this is going to get into rogue cloud applications and Dropbox, for instance. Nearly 7 million Dropbox passwords have been hacked. If you have no control over those things and people are using their own Dropbox accounts, guess what? Some of that stuff can be hacked. And really, what's the answer when it comes to these things, which we'll get into in a little bit. And the next frontier, mobile phones. I mean, how many different things do your mobile phones access daily? And the more things that your mobile phone accesses and the more access that you want to have from the outside world in, the more you look into the glass, the more you look into the more the mirror looks back. So more and more what we're going to have to be doing is not only putting antivirus on your computers at work, but on your phone. And yes, that might be a drag because it might slow your phone down a little bit, but putting that antivirus on there, you might really have to start thinking about those types of things. And monitoring. We might have to monitor the phone because if it's being used illegitimately, we need to make sure that it's not, putting stuff on the server that we don't know about. Mobile computing dangers on the rise, and I was surprised by this. It's a New Jersey law. I didn't look up Pennsylvania, but I could probably do the same thing and probably find a similar law, that if you have any information that's on a laptop, let's say that's driver's license information, social security information, logins, passwords, any financial records, so if you take a copy of a QuickBooks database or something, if that laptop is stolen, that's in violation of state law. And I'm not talking about, just accessing over a VPN because that's encrypted, okay? But I'm talking if you take copies of these things on your laptop, or if you have access to those things on your laptop that's easily accessible. So if you have a password that leads to, you start getting into a gray area that you put a password on your machine that allows them to go onto the VPN, that allows them to access this type of financial information. You kind of get into a gray area. But if it's just sitting on the laptop and it's stolen, you're in breach of New Jersey law. That's a scary thing. And of course, I could make a whole presentation out of spam. And I'm not talking the awful meat. The spam is huge. It's becoming, I think about just my proof point, which is the spam protection that we have, and I look at that daily, all the spam that I have. And, I want to say over the last 6 months to a year, the spam that you're getting is sometimes from myself, which is surprising because I haven't emailed myself. But it's called email spoofing, and it's becoming prevalent. And a lot of times people have things like, let's say, your copier sends you a scan, okay? And the scan automatically has an attachment of the scanned image that you just scanned in. Well, if more than likely that's coming from you because you're emailing yourself that scan. Well, if you open that, you could be turned into a botnet or anything like that because who knows? You could be looking in arrears. You might not be saying, oh, well, I didn't scan anything today. You might be looking 2 weeks ago. And if that spam message is still in your inbox and you open up that, maybe nothing happens today, but remember what I said about botnets? Something could happen tomorrow. So making sure you have spam protection in place to not only stop the junk mail. Now, if you're just relying on Outlook junk mail, please give us a call because spam is huge and it's a really scary thing. And there's only so much junk mail, filters can do. Even Office 365, they have things in place, but really going with a third party that's checking those things is definitely, something that you need to do. But it's not only the spam, it's also sometimes the links within the messages. So you might get something, and I want to think about, I'm not going to put it out there who this is, but I had a client the other day come to me and said, I responded to this email. It was an HR person. I'm sorry, accounting. And I responded to this email. It would look legit. It looked like one of our vendors, email spoofing, that said that they didn't get so-and-so on a bill and they need to rewire the money. They need to resend the check out. And she said, what is this? What exactly is this? And they came back and they emailed back like at least 4 times until she thought, this doesn't look right. And she caught me and she said, does this look right to you? And I said, uh-uh. So, you got to make sure that not only the things that you're checking in your email, the spam, but also the links within there. I mean, I can send you an email right now that looks like you're going to Google and you're going to XYZ website. So make sure you got spam protection in place. This is the crux of why I want to talk about this. How do you protect yourself? There's only so many things you can do, but there's definitely these main 7 things that you should definitely have in place. Okay. Number 1, let's talk about multi-layered antivirus. Many times we get these viruses on machines, and one of the questions we get asked, we've got antivirus, how did I get infected? 0-day vulnerabilities, I already talked about that one. Botnets, you didn't know you were infected. All these different things that are out there that can be caught. And I'm not just talking antivirus that's on your computer. So let's say Trend, Trend Micro, it's a big one that's out there. We use it a lot. Kaspersky is out there, Norton antivirus, those types of things. They protect you, but this is more like paintbrush strokes. You put more and more paint on the wall, the more protected that wall is. So one may not cut it. Let's talk about antivirus that's built in, gateway antivirus that's built into maybe a sonic wall or your router whatever router you might have. So let's talk about gateway antivirus. Gateway antivirus is something that as the websites come in, it hits your router before it even hits your computer, and the sonic wall is saying, not legit, get it out of here. Or blocking, full-on blocking things from certain places. We could say, based on geographic location, you might think you're going to TD Bank, actually you're going to Russia. We can stop that at the sonic wall. So layered antivirus, gateway antivirus on the sonic wall, botnet filtering on the sonic wall, geolocation filtering on the sonic wall, those types of things. It could even be multi-layered AV on your machine. So not only Trend, but maybe Malwarebytes or some of the other big ones that are out there. And also looking at Trend, and the thing that we're really pushing for now is when anybody comes up for a renewal for Trend, we're not moving towards the server version specifically because it's easy for cloud versions to get updated. So instead of us waiting for us to update whatever's on your server, we said, no, let's take it off the server, let's leave it in the cloud. It's more robust, it does the same thing, and it's updated faster because as soon as they see the virus issues, they'll update the cloud version much faster than we can update it on the server itself. Make sure it's reputable. You don't want to make, I always say when a client asks me, well, I have ABG antivirus free. Well, you're going to get what you pay for. If you're getting free antivirus, you're going to get free antivirus. So make sure it's a reputable thing and make sure it's paid for. Phone antivirus, it's going to become a must soon. So if you don't have it built in, with your antivirus, we might want to look at that. Next, I already talked about this, spam filtering. Latest email threat that's on the rise is email spoofing. You think it's from somebody within your organization, or you think it's from one of your colleagues that has an attachment, you're going to open it up because you think it's coming from inside your organization, and it's not. Email from clients asking you to log in from somewhere. This is another one. I just had this not too long ago where somebody sent my client a link, and it asked them, actually 2 different ones, it happened on 2 different occasions. One of them asked to log into Office 365. One of them asked them to log into their Gmail account. And I said, don't do it, because it could be, they click on the link in the email and it could take you to a bogus website. Best thing you could do at that point, if you think it might be legit, don't click on the link that's in your email. Go to the website exactly and log in. So if it says, for instance, and this has happened recently to me, you get something from your credit card company and it says, oh, your account has been upgraded, or your password, you got to update it. Click here to go ahead and do that right now. Don't click on the link because it could take you to somewhere bogus. If they're really asking you to do that, open up a web browser and you type in that web browser address and you go there and make sure that it's the right thing, because if you click on that link, it could take you to someplace bogus. which is what I'm talking about, URL spoofing. Content filtering. This will go back to that employees, being the #1 threat. Content filtering. Let's talk about where you can and can't go during the day. Control where your employees can go online. Now, I know a lot of people like to be lax and, hey, we're one of those companies that allow you to go wherever you want anytime. Some people, some of our clients have legit reasons. So one of the things that that SonicWall will protect you against right out of the gate is like, websites that have drugs and alcohol. Well, we have some businesses that need to go there because they have restaurants, and they need to go to places that look up wines, or employees. So they have legit reasons to go to these places. But overall, you want to make sure that you're controlling, excuse me, where you can and can't go online. Facebook's not only a security risk, but sometimes a waste of productivity. There's places and times and ways you can do that. And I'm not talking overall. Maybe, again, there might be legit reasons, especially like on LinkedIn and stuff like that you want people to go there. But if it's just simply to check Facebook, let's start talking about locking some of that stuff down, because not only is it a time waster, but as you've seen, it could be a security risk. SonicWall has the ability, but you need the license. So just because you have a SonicWall, we need to find out if you have the license. So just getting a SonicWall and throwing it up there and saying you're protected, no, there's licenses that you need to pay for, just like the renewals of warranties. You need to renew those licenses for the gateway antivirus and the botnet filtering and all that. So if you don't know that you don't have that, and I think I said that right, it's starting to get long into this. If you don't think that you have that, please give us a call and we can tell you whether you do or do not have that built in. And if you don't, we can give you the pricing on how to get it built in. And then, like I said, we can help you create these policies and distribute it and make sure that it's followed. Cloud file storage. Biggest thing I can tell you right now from a business point of view, make sure that you have something in place that you're providing your employees so that they can store stuff in the cloud. More and more people don't mind working at home, but give them a place where they can put that information, because where they're going to go is their own personal Dropbox. Oh yeah, I put that in my Dropbox and I have access to it at home. And it sounds, yeah, I have it, put it in my Dropbox. But what happens when that employee is fired? You have zero access to those files. Or what happens if their account is hacked? So now those files are out in the wild. So if you're providing, and again, I know, I feel your pain, it's a paid for service that you're going to have to pay for, but isn't it better to pay for a business grade cloud file storage application that you have access to the privileges? You can say he has access to go here, but he doesn't have access to go there. But not only that, in case that employee goes rogue, you can cut off that access right then and there. So again, I know, I feel your pain. It's just another thing that I have to pay for, a subscription or something like that. But if you control it, you're much more in a better position. Password complexity. If one of your passwords is on the screen right now, call me when this presentation is over. If it's past 1234 or 12345 from that movie Spaceballs, QWERTY, anything that's hackable, more and more people are saying, oh, I have so many passwords, so hard to keep track of. Well, it's one of those things. What I usually have is a good, better, best, or sometimes, 4 different passwords that I use. If I'm logging into, this one website that's just forum access, I don't care if they get that password, because what are they going to do? Write forum posts about me? So I use a weak password there, and then I use a better password for this thing, or I use a password that's maybe 15 characters long with spaces and exclamation points for my bank passwords. So vary your passwords so that if they break one, they don't break them all. But definitely make sure, especially if you have outside access to your machine in any way, make sure that password is unhackable. At the most, more than 8 characters. It has an uppercase letter. It has a number in there. It has some symbol in there. Best case scenario, it also has spaces in there. So make sure your password is complex. Backup, 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 backup. I put this on here 3 times, and I'm making a plug for next seminar for in October. But you need to make sure all your data is backed up. It's the only way we're going to thwart. If Cryptolocker gets in there, the only thing we have is a backup. You know, and I know, Sandra, you can chime in here. We're dealing with this today, you know, right, Sandra?
Yeah, it's pretty much a weekly basis. I mean, crypto is out there and it's rampant. So having a good backup in place, that's your number one way to get around crypto. Or you can pay the ransom,
Yeah.
which most people don't want to do.
Yeah, I mean, you can pay the ransom, and the ransom isn't in dollars because you have to change your dollars into Bitcoin, and then that Bitcoin goes off-site, and hopefully, cross your fingers and your toes, hopefully they'll give your data back. Sometimes it's not that way. So you could lose $500, $1,000, $2,000 in Bitcoin and not even get the data back. So you got to make sure that that backup is there. Like I said, go ahead.
It's very difficult to get the Bitcoin as well. One of our clients actually did this. They went out and they bought Bitcoin, but it took a while to get it. You have to give out your bank information, your credit card information. They want a picture of your ID, your driver's license. So it's a little bit scary to go get the Bitcoin.
Yeah, and like I said, this happened this morning. We were told this morning that somebody had Cryptolocker. They opened up the wrong email, and now we're dealing with this right now. And that's on this second point. You got to make sure that it's not only backed up, but the worst time to find out that your backup isn't working is when you need it to work, because you need to make sure that it's restorable. So one thing that I would make sure is, if Parallel Edge is there, make sure that you're giving us enough time, you know, beyond everything else that we're doing, to do test restores of those backups. You know, it picks stuff at random and make sure that it's varied. You know, it could be from this server, this server, this server, or, you know, it could be a Word file, it could be a QuickBooks backup, whatever it is. Just make sure that it's restorable now before you need it, because once you need it, if it hasn't been backed up, and again, we had this just the other week, where we were like, oh yeah, you know, it was a client we don't see on a regular basis. So, you know, the backup was put in place. It wasn't being monitored, even though they said it was being monitored by people on site that's in that business. Again, we're not there, so we have no idea what's going on. But they're in the impression, oh yeah, it's backing up, no problem. We're getting these things. It's even saying that it's being backed up. But guess what? We go to restore that, it's hosed. And at that point, we have no recourse whatsoever. Why 3 times? Why did I say backup, backup, backup? Find out in next month's presentation. I know that sounds like a stay tuned next week, but really I don't want to get too much more in backup, because it's a whole presentation that I'm going to do next month just on backup alone. So go ahead and stay tuned for that one. Another one, and the last one here, employee education. We can teach your employees about being safe online. So whether you want us to come in for, you know, a couple of hours, you know, maybe take a group of employees, another group of employees, we can teach them how to be safe online. We can teach them what spam looks like. We can tell them how to react once the computer is infected. You know, again, the first thing that happens is embarrassment. So that wastes time. And if it wastes time, that allows the infection to become huge. So we make sure what happens. I'm infected. What do you do? Who do you notify? Who's the first person? Who's the second person? What do I do with my computer? And we can tell them about that thing. And identify phishing. Another big one that's coming up lately. Phishing. And phishing is this. And this could either be on the email or on phone. So you ask for a single piece of information. It could be an email address. It could be where you host your website. It could be anything, just something small, and or a phone call. Hey, this is, you know, Jimmy from Comcast. I just want to make sure what your email address. It's you know, kcerula at paralleledge.net or .com, or you know, dot this, that, and the other thing. I just wanted to make sure that then they'd have that piece of information, and then maybe 2 weeks later they'd say, oh yeah, I got this email from kcerula at paralleledge.com. You know, he wanted information about so-and-so and such and such. What's his phone number? they're gaining information about a single employee, and that's how they start fishing for information. So now they have 4 items of information, they have 5 items of information, they have 7 items of information, and now they're starting to gain information to do a good penetration test on you. So now you're going to use all this information. Oh, their website is hosted at XYZ. Let's ping that and get all their information from this website. Who owns the domain? You know, you can start seeing how all this will snowball. So phishing and identifying what phishing looks like and sounds like is another big thing that we can teach your employees. So hiring us to come out, do presentations, you know, hire us to come out there and help you with writing those policies. It's paramount. So make sure you get on that. But the bottom line, you need to get serious about protecting your company. Again, you know, paranoia, that's the only way you're going to win against these things. Success breeds complacency. Complacency breeds failure. Only the paranoid survive. If you're going to be paranoid, you need to get serious. You need to get serious about protecting your company right now. So what does that look like? You know, what can we do for you? 3 steps to protecting your organization. We're going to start out with a threat assessment. What's lacking in your security right now? How are employees using your company-owned devices? What third-party cloud applications are installed on your computers that you don't even know about, that they're storing information in the ether? Are your systems truly backed up? Where are you exposed to that risk? So that's the first thing we can help you with. Step 2, we can help you create an action plan. Based on what we discover, what do we need to do to ensure your systems, your data, your operations are secure from theft, compromise, and corruption? And again, we can help you write some of those internet security policies in that action plan. And third, ongoing maintenance. You know, that complacency thing, you know, we already have it in place. We're fine. Complacency breeds failure. Only the paranoid will survive. Hey, it's been 6 months. Do you think we're still really good about protecting ourselves from Cryptolocker? Did Cryptolocker 5 come out? Are we, you know, backed up against those types of viruses? You cannot take a set it and forget it approach to your security. So if you're break fix, you're right within this. Set it and forget it. So make sure that you're having us come out on an annual basis. If not, you know, have us come out every week, every 2 weeks. You know, have us come in there. We want to be part of your team to help you, you know, stand against these types of threats. Because your attackers, they're not going to wait. They're not going to wait for you to catch up. All right, so thank you for joining us. Please join us next month for our webinar that's going to specifically target backup solutions. Sandra, before I close up, is there anything else out there that anybody had any questions about, or you might have questions about, or something that I did not touch on?
I do not see any questions. If anybody has any, you can post them now. There are still quite a few people left here, so.
Or at the very least, you know, email us, contact Sandra, throw up a smoke signal, whatever you want. You know, if you have a question afterwards you just kind of thought about, feel free to email me. You could always give us a call, or at the very least, have us come out, do that threat assessment. Let's come up with that action plan, and let's get this really, you know, moving in the right direction. Stay tuned to our newsletter and our website for future webinars. And like I said before, this webinar is posted online, so in case you want to share it with your friends. And once this webinar closes out, make sure you fill out that survey. Let me know how I'm doing. You know, this is my 3rd webinar. I hope I'm doing a really good job. You know, there's many more to come, and I'm getting you know, more and more requests for a lot of different webinars that are out there. But if you have one, if you have a suggestion for a future webinar, let us know, and I'd be more than happy to do that, either on a webinar or a seminar basis. So, you know, in your office. So without anything else, if that's all, Sandra, do you have anything else?
Nope, I think you covered everything.
Fantastic. Well, I hope everybody has a fantastic day, and thank you for joining us again.
Thank you.